Okay. 1 second. Thank you again. Okay, the notification is coming in right now. Perfect. Boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have an incredible guest with us, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother Chef Brandon Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very, very, very much, brother, for having me on.
Praise be to Allah, sir. Well, let's get straight into it. I received a call from you. That were called to reach out. You reached out to me, and I reached out to you. And just hearing some of the stories on the phone, I was amazed because you said we're going to just deal with how to eat to live. You look so young. I couldn't believe that the timeline that you were telling me of these stories was lining up with that. So I look forward to hearing your history, sir. So praise be to Allah. So when was the first time you heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
The first time that I actually recall it, brother, first, again, thank you, brother. And I want to say to those who are listening and watching, you know, I'm so honored, brother. We're so honored because, like I said, I've sat here and watched some of my heroes and sheroes in the nation be on here. And, you know, some of them don't even know what they mean to me. But to see them and to hear the story, man, brother, to even be, you know, on the platform, it's such a beautiful work, man, that you're doing. I really thank Allah for it, and thank Allah for you, brother. And so in that, to answer your question, my earliest recollection that I do recall hearing, I was very young. It was in the 80s. It was right around the time that Jesse Jackson was running for president. And you know, my mother's family, my mother's parents were both followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They came into Mosque number 8 in San Diego back in the 50s, in the 1950s. And my grandfather, who, just to give you the background on it, my grandfather who had come in, brought my grandmother, his children. I think my mother and my uncle, I think they were the two oldest, and they were probably the only two at the time that they had. So this was right around 54, 55 when they came in to number 8. But my grandfather ended up being one of the assistant ministers at the mosque in number 8, and eventually would rotate with Minister Henry, who was the minister in San Diego at the time. They would rotate going to Los Angeles and teaching meetings and study groups, and until they found a building for Los Angeles. And then at that time, he said that, according to my grandfather, they lived in what's called the parsonage, which was the home attached to the mosque in number 8. And so they lived there. And so when Brother Malcolm X would come to San Diego, he would often come by the mosque and visit them. And my mother and my grandfather, they said that, you know, they would drink coffee and sit at the table and having their conversations. And he thought that he was going to be appointed the minister number 27. And turned out Brother Malcolm had sent Brother Jabril now, but Brother Bernard Kushmir and some of the others down. And so they moved to Los Angeles in 1961 to help with the opening and the building of then Temple number 27. And so they were there, you know, from that point on. And so until the departure of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, at the time my mother was actually pregnant with me, February 28, 1975. I was born April 3rd, 1975. And I'm still searching and researching to find out, even then, brother, if I had any prenatal experiences with the nation. But it was always growing up in our home that we don't eat pork, Jesus is black, you know, watch them white folks, you know, it was like that was the theme in the home. and don't eat at everybody's house. You can't do this, you can't do that. I actually remember getting whooped for eating at a friend of mine's house, eating some fried chicken out of their house. I got whooped when I got home for that. Because my mother said, you don't know what she fried that chicken in. But then when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan began rebuilding the nation, it was in Los Angeles. And so there was a buzz around Los Angeles at the time, and some of the older followers, some were coming back, some weren't. And because of my grandparents' history and their run-ins with the FBI and the Los Angeles Police Department and things, my grandmother was a little fearful about taking her children back. And even going back herself. They had been threatened by the FBI to not attend the mosque anymore. My great grandmother, who's my grandfather's mother, was in Houston, Texas. She called my grandfather and said the FBI was out here asking questions about you. So they had gone all the way to Houston, Texas to visit his mother and to find his family. He recalled a cab driver picking him up. And I know I'm taking a long time, but I'm trying to give you the backdrop on it.
No, take your time.
But he remembered taking a cab, and a cab driver picked him up. And he said it was a Caucasian lady driving, and he had his lapel pin on with his national, and said she looked in the rearview mirror and she said, "Hey, that's a nice insignia you have there." And he said, "That's not an insignia. You don't know what this is." And she told him, "Yes, that is an insignia." And he said it was kind of a little back and forth for a minute, but he cut the conversation out. And he said the conversation bothered him all day. So when he got home that night, he went to clear the word insignia. And he said, based off their conversation, she was right. And he made a commitment to himself that nobody who was not in the Nation of Islam would know anything more about the nation than him. So he began to study. And that was in the home, you know, the way that my mother and her siblings were raised. That's how they were. They couldn't play games with dice. They couldn't play Monopoly or things like that. She said they had to build spinners out of cardboard and popsicle sticks and draw a circle. They had to write 1 through 12 on it to play. That was their dice. Anything to replace, you know, rolling dice. They couldn't play cards, these things. And so in the 80s, my grandfather was in a grocery store in Carson, California, which is about 2.5 hours from San Diego, where we all were living at the time. And he was shopping, and the checker sees him. She says, you know, "Hello, Mr. Johnson, how are you?" He looks, she says, "How you doing?" And she says to him, "You don't remember me, do you?" And he said, he just stopped and looked at her. He said, "I remember you. You used to drive cabs in San Diego." And she said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, I was working for the government then. That was a long time ago." And she was bearing witness for him that, yes, you all were followed. Yes, you were followed more closely than you ever thought. And he didn't know he had other experiences outside of them knocking on the door to the parsonage and knocking on the door to their home, burning down his barbershop in Los Angeles, all of these things. He didn't know that he had become that close to where he was allowing an agent to drive him around the city. And he said it shook him a little bit because this is almost 20 something years later. And he recognized her, she recognized him. And he said he knew at that time that whatever Brother Farrakhan was doing, it was the right thing. Because he felt that he knew then that if he had to go through what he took his family through again, he had made a commitment that he was going to fight this time. He was not going to just let them approach him and ask, "What do I do?" He said he was going to fight. He was ready to fight, physically fight. And so when Jesse Jackson starts running for president, of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is supporting him. The FOI were all over Los Angeles, brother. Man, we saw pink bean pie boxes everywhere, man. The brothers were everywhere. And the minister was on television. He was being interviewed. And I just remember coming in the house, and we were, you know, we were in the city, but we were like a country family in the city. So my parents owned the home. It was a big home, but my grandparents and my mother's siblings all lived with us. We all lived in the same house. It was a big house, but we all lived there with the exception of one of her brothers. And so everyone was sitting around what we used to have these floor model televisions back then. And it was a Magnavox TV. And back then in the 80s, you know, you was big time if you had one of those. Um, and everyone sat around the television and was watching this man. And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at my family. And as the children, we would come in and, you know, when you told, hey, sit down and be quiet, you know, when you got a little wiggle room to not sit down and be quiet.
Yes, sir.
But this sit down and be quiet was, I better not try them. I better sit down and be quiet. And so I did. I sat down. I sat in front of the television and I'm watching what they're watching. And I'm trying to keep up with the conversation. And all the adults are behind me, but they're all quiet. Nobody is saying anything. They're just listening to him answer the questions. And so I'm looking at this man and I'm watching my family's response. I don't really know what he's talking about, but I just like the way he's saying it. I'm just like, man, I don't know what he's saying, but he's saying it, you know, and these white people kind of backing down. I'm like, who is this man? And I'm just looking at him. They go to a commercial break that all the family, you know, they start talking about, you know, their conversations and they're going back and forth. And so I noticed one of my uncles, he's kind of not on board with it. And but he didn't say this. He didn't say that. Back from commercial break and it's quiet again. Well, I didn't know who he was, but I knew that according to my family, that man was so important that you don't say nothing when he's talking. And that was my introduction to Louis Farrakhan. When he's talking, you shut up. And that was the way it came to me. So anytime I ever saw him after that, you know, I stopped what I was doing. Like, what does he say? Let me hear what he's talking about. And so, you know, he gets on Donahue and, you know, and by this time we're trying to come into a little bit of consciousness, you know, in Los Angeles. It's like the late 80s, early 90s. You know, we kind of coming around. I'm seeing final calls every now and then in the house, you know, and I didn't know what they were. To me, they were like National Enquirers, you know, they were the same size and everything. So I really didn't know what it was, but I just kept seeing Black people. And so occasionally I would thumb through it. And I saw this thing, you know, about how to eat to live. And I don't understand everything, but all I wanted to find was, man, where in the Bible we say we ain't supposed to eat pork? Because I got some people I need to show they shouldn't be eating pork.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I didn't know where it was. I was just told it's in the Bible. And so on my own, I began to go and study. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan came to Los Angeles. He was doing a Stop the Killing tour. And my grandfather, my mother, my aunt went. They didn't take me. You know, I wasn't actually allowed to go. I found out later on, and I found out why. It was my grandfather's call. My father went with them, and my father grew up in New Orleans in the Magnolia Projects. He was Southern Baptist, didn't have an ounce of Islam other than what he got from marrying my mother. And so, but he was another one. He just loved it. He's like, man, I like to hear that man talk. That's what he would say. So they went, they came back, they come back with paraphernalia, they come back with final calls. It's the first time that I actually was able to touch a Holy Quran. I saw my grandfather with one before. He would be sitting at his kitchen table studying and reading, but I couldn't touch it. You know, I wasn't allowed to go into his books or anything like that. But my mother had one, and she had one sitting on her nightstand. I don't remember what I was doing in her bedroom this day, but I saw it. And, you know, as a child, everything you told you can't do, you get the opportunity to do it, you do it. So the first thing I did was open that book up, you know, and I'm reading it. And I didn't understand it, you know, but I'm reading and I'm trying to follow along and I'm taking my time. And okay, so I close it up and I see this other book with this man on the front cover, this book here. And, you know, I'm looking at him and I kid you not, brother, when I saw it, you know, it was almost as if it was like a 3D image, almost like it moved to me. And, you know, I'm saying that now. If I'd have said that then, people would be like, man, you crazy, you know. And some people might still think I'm crazy, but I know what I experienced when I picked it up. And so I saw a message to the Black man. you know, and you're 15 years old, you think you're a man. So I said, yeah, well, he talking to me. This is
Yes,
what I literally said to myself. Well, he talking to me. So I go in it, and as I'm reading, I notice where he's saying, brothers do this. He's talking to men, but the information is for everyone, you know, and I didn't know what that meant. Now I understand, you know, as a husband, as a father, there's a certain role we're supposed to play.
yes,
And
sir.
you can't lead from behind, you lead by example. You have to be well studied to lead your family. You have to do what you're supposed to. So I later on I understood that, but I'm reading and I'm going through the index. I used to grab, my mother had this really big, thick Bible, and it had these black pair of hands on it, you know, like this. And that was supposed to be our black Bible. Uh,
Yes, sir.
and I used to go in the concordance a lot. And that's where I began to find how to define words, where to find other scriptures that would mention the same word or the same subject matter. And I began understanding study a little bit better. But in the back of the Message to the Black Man in America, right now to this day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has this study guide back there. And it was a study guide to understanding the Holy Quran and a guide to understanding the Bible.
Mm, mm.
And that was like my cliff notes. I'm looking like, man, okay, well, let me see so I can find, I don't want to read the whole book right now, but let me see where I can find everything at. And sure enough, brother, when I found swine, and I was like, whoa, wait, black people? Oh, he was black. Because all I wanted to find was Jesus is black and we're not supposed to eat pork. For whatever reason, those were the two biggest things in my heart and mind that black people needed to know.
Mm, mm, mm.
Jesus is black, we don't supposed to eat pork. I'm 15. You know, we grew up and like you did. You go to the store, brother, you read labels. You know, all of my friends, they didn't have that in their home. So I'm the only one in the pack off to the side. I'm trying to read labels and the food off to the side while they just throwing their stuff on the counter at the liquor store. Because
Yes,
I
sir.
know if it says, you know, and or beef fat, we ain't supposed to eat that. Put it back. You
Mm,
know,
mm, mm.
if it's it would say lard and or beef fat, or it would say animal fat, or and my mother would say, if you don't know, put it back. She never even went into the kosher symbols and all of that. She didn't do that. She said, you read it. She didn't care if it had a kosher symbol on it. If it said monodiglycerides, put it down. And so as I got older, even up to now, and you begin to read the labels, I started to see that the words are changing. They're using different terminology. They're getting more scientific in the
Mm,
words.
mm.
But all praise is due to Allah. I learned that stuff, brother, at 8, 9 years old. You know, when I saw my friends eating ding dongs and unwrapping that chocolate cake out that foil, I wanted some of that, man. You know, but we couldn't eat that. Uh, Zingers and Twinkies, and we couldn't eat that. You know, and so it's like, well, what do we eat? Like, man, I don't want no pie. I want one of that. I want that. I don't want no
Yes, sir.
pie, you
Yes, sir.
know? And so that became a part of who I have become, that you have to, everything that I was looking for to help define me, to help understand my family, to help understand our people, I found in the Message to the Black Man in America. And I was hooked, brother. I was hooked. And so at 15, in 1990, in Los Angeles, brother, the height of gang banging, the introduction to now conscious music, you know, when you 12, 13, 14, 50, you have to make a decision on who you're going to be with. And it's pretty much the same everywhere in the city. And so I'm the youngest of 7 children. All 3 of my brothers were gangbanging. So it was like, it was really easy. That was an easy decision. Okay, well, I'm going with them. That's what they doing. One of my brothers is the only one would tell me, you're not coming over here. You're not, no, you're not doing. We had the same father, but we have different mothers. And then he would ask me, do Linda know you over here? And that's when I knew, drop my head, okay, because she ain't gonna let me go. And so the only other thing outside of sports and music that was really grabbing my heart was the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I felt so smart, brother, talking to people. I just felt like, man, I know stuff. You know, it was so exciting to me. And at 15, I decided I want to be an FOI. I want to do that. I want to do what those brothers are doing. I don't know everything they saying and talk. I just want to go in there. And my mother allowed me to attend a mosque meeting in Los Angeles at mosque number 27. And this brother, this black man up there, this bald, shiny head, get up there, and he talking tough, you know, and I'm like, this dude, he kind of old. I don't really know if he, you know, because I know, I was like, man, there's some dudes where I'm at, man, they eat this dude up, you know, it's what I'm thinking, you know. And he comes down and this other bald head brother get up there and he talking and I just noticed their heads are glistening, man. Yeah. Another brother, you know, gets up, he bald headed, but he light skinned. I said, man, I ain't cutting my hair, man. I got good hair. I can cut my hair. It was like, I'm not doing that. If I gotta be bald headed, I'm not cutting my hair. And I later found out that the brother who spoke the longest that day, you know, that preacher was Brother Minister Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And I found out he wasn't just talking tough, that he really was tough. You know?
Yes, sir.
And I see us, you know, these other brothers and sisters and I had never seen Black people in one place like that before in my life. The closer that I come to that was my family at home. And we didn't dress up to do that. You know, it was just, man, brother, mine was blown. You know, mine was blown. And then I saw the children, you know, and I was like, wow, you know, even they sharp, they smart,
Yes,
you
sir.
know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm like, wow, man, Bros, you coming to class tomorrow? I didn't even know what class he was talking about. I thought they meant me going back to school tomorrow. I said, yeah, I'll be in class. Like, I didn't know he was talking about the moms. And later on, there was a group, depending on where you lived at in the area, there was a study group that was started in Compton, California. And brother, may Allah be pleased with brother Captain Emeritus Abdul Wali Muhammad of Los Angeles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He really just kind of kicked everybody out, you know. I remember hearing him call brother Captain Shaheed. He said, oh, brother, that riff rap. He said, y'all going over to Compton with that, you know, because there was a group of brothers that were hard-headed, you know, didn't want to be refined, just wanted to fight, you know, in the name of righteousness. And all this saluting, man, look, let's go out here and do this. Let's go do this. And I lived in the area. And so it was closer to my home. And I went to Mona Park in Compton. And Brother Minister Reuben Muhammad is the brother of our brother Cam, the West Coast Cam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Was teaching in the park, you know. We'd go to Victoria Park in Carson. I mean, it was everywhere, brother. Brother Captain Shaheed would even have us at his house in Carson, California, in the garage. And he said one thing one time, man, that I knew that God or Allah, as they keep saying it, was just, was fair, was to me like this is a real God. When Brother Captain Shaheed told a group of brothers sitting in these chairs, he said, see, he said, out there in the streets, he said, y'all be out there shooting at your brothers, killing your brothers, robbing. He said, man, you don't get no protection from that. He said, but in here, he said, I'll not let you kill, but you gotta be right. I said, wow, a God that lets you kill? And it resonated with me only because I got tired of seeing our people mistreated and being killed and mowed down. Not from the Black community, we saw that, but on the larger scale, it's like we can't fight back. And when he said that, I was like, wow, this is a religion you can fight back and God will back you? That was the cherry on top. Like, oh, I know that's where I'm supposed to be because I want to swing. You know, I don't want to turn the other cheek all the time. Like, I don't even know what that means, man. I'm tired of this. Stop talking to us like that. Stop handling us like that. You know, the police come, man, leave me alone. That was the spirit that Allah's always given me. And it put fear in my parents because they knew that they wouldn't always be there to protect me in that instance. So I got ready to graduate high school, brother. I decided, I was like, man, I'm going to the Army because I needed some militants. My father was a veteran. My grandfather was a veteran. Uncles, both of my grandfathers are veterans. And I want to go. And my father looked at me. He said, boy, you ain't going to no Army. I had the Army socks on from the recruiter and everything. I'm wearing them, you know. But I graduated high school a year early, so I couldn't even sign the paperwork myself. And my father said, you ain't going to no Army. He said, as soon as one of them white boys call you a nigga, you going to the bridge. He said, we can't come get you. And so I looked at my grandfather. I said, Papa, I'll tell him, you know, this military is good. He said, no, baby, you go to college. He said, ain't no place for a black man in the white man's military. And I was a little dumbfounded because my grandfather was always my supporter, you know, what I wanted to do. And that particular time, all of the family was united against me in that. And so I went to Grambling State University. Filled out one college application, brother, from high school. That was the only college application I filled out, and I got accepted.
Praise be to Allah. Great. And thank you again for your amazing testimony and transparency. My sister Miriam sends a greeting. Sister Khadija Kareem sends a greeting. She said this interview was awesome. Praise be to Allah. And thank you. And thank you all for continuing to like, share, subscribe to the People's Podcast. And I can't wait to put this on YouTube. My next question for you, Brother Brandon, is you spoke of two bald head men. Who came before Dr. Khaled?
It was a brother, brother Sabir Muhammad who is at the time, he was Brother Charles. And my dear sister Amina Muhammad there in Atlanta from the Compton Miles, is her father, in fact. You know, this was, and if you see him right now today, I swear this brother ain't aged one bit, man. Since I mean, people think, you know, like, brother, you not Asian, man. I stand next to Brother Sabir, brother, I promise you, it's like, no way this man is a grandfather. You know, it's multiple times, you know, just this beautiful chocolate smooth skin, brother, this shiny head, this big, beautiful smile. He just looked like a Muslim, brother, you know, from day one. And I saw him at Savior's Day a few years back. Man, all I could do was grab and hug him because he was a part of my introduction to wanting to be a Muslim, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he was collecting charity.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. What about Dr. Khaled? What was your interactions with him like?
The very first time I ever sold Final Calls, brother, I went out with Brother Khaled, and that was a tutorial out of this world, you know. Now, we were over on the west side of Los Angeles, which, and from my neighborhood, brother, we didn't frequent that area at all. Not at all. That was a place, at first it had distance from us, but when you got over there, you just didn't feel safe because there were a group of brothers in these street organizations that, they're not going to tell you no twice. And they had this reputation. So, it's like, nah, we're not going over there. If I got to fight, I'll fight, but I'm not going over there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for that. And they didn't fight anyway. They killed. And so we're out in an area called Venice. And the brothers, we walk up on them and they're sitting around in a little circle. You know how it is just in the neighborhood. They're doing what they do. And, to watch, man, Brother Khaled now reflecting on it, that man loved Black people so much, brother. It was, you know, I can only say the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, brother, have I seen just completely outweigh his love for Black people. And what I saw personal with Brother Khaled was, I saw him sit down on the curb with a homeless man, a homeless brother, put his arm around him, the brother that none of us would touch. Like, we don't even want to shake his hand because, of our mentality. The Khaled put his arm around the brother and he told him, he said, do you know you are God? You God, Black man. He said, we're going to get you cleaned up. We got brothers that cut hair. We're going to cut your hair. When I come back, I don't want to see you looking like this again because you God. I had never seen nobody do that. So a homeless man that was dirty, hair matted, smell back, he didn't care. He's in his suit, brother, he didn't care. Took him and fed. But this day when we selling papers, brother, he walked over to the brother and, the brothers are receptive, all except this one. You can see it on his face. He won't say much. He just kind of grunting, these kind of reactions. And so Brother Khaled just honed in on him, brother. And he said, Black man, you all right? He said, yeah, I'm straight. I'm straight. He got his little braids and his barrettes and, what on the street looked like a tough killer. But now as a man, you look at him like, God, like you got a little sugar in your tank, man. But this is how he looking, he swole, everything. And so he said, okay. And Brother Khaled looked at him, he said, has a man ever told you that he loved you? He said, a Black man ever told you he loved you? He's like, man, get on out of here with that. And so the other brothers, they were like, hold on, man. It was like, hey, don't disrespect him like that. He was like, man, don't come over here with that, And he said, that's your problem. He said, you don't know how to be loved. And Khaled walked over to him, grabbed the brother by his wrist, lift his arm up, had a folded final call, slammed it under his armpit and slammed his arm back down. And he said, now give me $1 before I don't want to talk to you no more. Now all the rest, we thinking we getting ready to have to fight these brothers, but and the brother was so shook. He was so scared. Nobody came to his defense. He didn't know what to do. And this man standing there in this suit and bow tie was so strong, he couldn't lift his big arms up to pull away. Before we knew it, they had walked off, and Brother Khaled was talking to him. And you could see when the brother turned around, he wiping tears from his eyes. That was my introduction to selling the final call. That means go out there and be fearless. I don't care what they saying, what they do, what they look like. Get them the paper. That was it. And that's how we went to the street. And the brothers in Muhammad Miles number 54 in Compton developed a reputation for selling papers. And it wasn't always the greatest reputation. Because we were just immature in our Islam, especially at that time. But all we knew was that put the paper in their hand, get the $1, go back and give Muhammad his money. Go home, take care of your family, keep your suits clean. So, there's no way in the world that I could have got that kind of training in the U.S. military. No branch of the U.S. military whatsoever. None.
Praise be to Allah. Yes. So what was it like being under Captain Shaheed as when you were very young, for all those years? What was that like?
Brothers, right now to this day, and he knows, brother, he knows I love him so dearly right now today, brother, because every time there's a jewel that he leaves you with, and he delivers it in such a way, we laugh, it's comical, but it's because it's so plain and simple that you kind of laugh, and sometimes we laughing out of embarrassment because we like, man, I didn't even think of it, like that. But it was, you know, under Brother Shaheed, under Brother Captain Oliver as well, Brother Captain Malik. These brothers, Brother Captain Halim, Brother Captain Waleed, I gotta give them their credit. Even Brother Captain William, who's now in Los Angeles. I gotta give these brothers their credit because it was always about, brother, do not misrepresent the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Do not misrepresent him. I understand you got to get your money. I understand you got to do this. I understand you got to do that. Don't misrepresent him. Don't use his name in vain. And you should do your best to look like him, talk like him, do your best to follow that example. Brother Captain Leroy, may Allah be pleased with him. Oh, brother, the training I got from those brothers, it's just phenomenal. And to see how much they all love each other. And brothers, some of the things, Brother Captain Shaheed was very big on, with us, he would tell us, as men, as FOI, and he say, a Muslim ain't supposed to, you ain't supposed to have no less than $100 in your pocket all the time. Like, what are you doing if you are not getting luxury, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life? What are you doing here? What did you come for? Not that that's the ultimate, but you should be able to move around in your life, in your everyday life, and achieve these things doing righteousness. Why you keep going to fill out job applications, brother? This was Cap was just like, man, always had some employment for the brothers. It was always a contract. He got, we done met so many people, brother, through Brother Captain Shaheed. I kid you not, man. If we make a list of household names, entertainers, athletes, brother, Johnny Cochran, man, come on, Russell Simmons, Mike Tyson, Magic Johnson. These are household names, brother. Lennox Lewis, and these people loved the Muslims. They loved us. The people in the street who we thought were dangerous, and they could be, if Allah allowed them to be, brother, was afraid of him. Some respected him so much you thought it was fear. Suge Knight, brother, called right now to this day, it's Uncle Shaheed to him. Brother Captain Shaheed is one of the very few people that I ever hear consistently call Suge Knight Marion, and he responds. Ain't no back talk, ain't no funny looking faces, and brother, it's because he loved Black people, man. Again, and I remember hearing from our minister in Compton at the time, was Brother Abdul Samad Muhammad, was formerly Jimmy 2X out of Long Beach. And, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan came to visit the laborers in California and the Western region. And they were all in the meeting. And the minister, some of the laborers were complaining about Brother Captain Shaheed's style of leadership, as a captain, because he did not like excuses. Stop making excuses, man. Stop making excuses. You have the opportunity. Stop saying no when you can say yes. You just too lazy to do the work. and it was like, why do you want to be raggedy? Why do you not want? And you see him, brother, every time you see, I don't care if he classy or class. Hey, Cap is sharp from head to toe, brother. Every time, never fails. Going to the barbershop and it's like, man, like I probably would have waited, another 5, 6 days. He's not waiting, brother. You know, First person I ever physically laid eyes on with gators. First black man I ever saw drive a Rolls Royce, brother. These types of things. It was like, and he would tell, how you gonna attract the people looking like them? You gotta have something that's attractive to them. Luxury, money, good homes is attractive to our people. That's not the end all be all, but you gotta have some bait, man. You gotta have some bait to fish them in. And Cap, he liked nice things, brother, and he wanted it for us. We got vehicles, we got homes, we got jobs, brother, through him. When the Honorable Louis Farrakhan asked Brother Samad, well, you as minister, what you think I ought to do with it? And he said to him in his response, he said, I believe with all my heart that he loves Master Farad Muhammad, that he loves the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that he loves you and he loves Black people. He said, I think he's like a lot of us, just immature in his Islam at times. And he said, the minister slammed his hand on the table and said, that's it, brother. That's right. And they went on with their meetings. Nevertheless, he was still a captain. ain't nobody getting busted. It was just like the training that we got was manhood training. It wasn't meant for little boys. It wasn't meant for, if you were sensitive, you could come in sensitive. You can't stay sensitive, brother, because it's not personal. He understood military interaction with the men. So there were times where brothers, we might, be arguing and, so I kind of look like, man, y'all need to go in the back, brother. You're going to end up fighting if y'all don't squash this. It was kind of like those types of things because he could see it. And knowing his soldiers, brother, just being that example, man, and learning. For me, it was always learning to settle on the best part of him because he always tried to make me be my best. And so, I didn't need him to help me out with being a Negro. I didn't need that kind of help. I didn't need no help with doing wrong. And even times where he knew I was doing wrong, he would say, I remember one time in particular, I'm telling him about something I had done, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to get some time, that he's going to report it, and so forth, brother. And he looked at me, he said, Brandon, you're a good brother. He said, you're a good brother. He said, man, go ahead and get your money. He said, bring some back to Muhammad, get your papers, pay your charity. He said, but keep being a good brother. And I was just like, wow, that carried me because what I heard more than anything was you a good brother. Not, are you crazy? What's wrong with you? That's not how he responded to me. He said, you a good brother. And nobody ever told me I was good. You understand? It was knowing how to speak the language that your soldiers needed to hear. And everybody couldn't handle it. Everybody couldn't handle the brothers that he trained, the lieutenants who later became captains. Everybody couldn't handle it. Some of them still can't today, But it was always rooted in love. And those things, you try to bring to the table with anybody else that you're in leadership with. Man, take care of them. Take care of them. Make sure the brothers got money, jobs, income, where they don't have to go fill out an application. You need a job, I'll give you a job. When he found out I'd been to college and I had come back home and he had the security contract, we go to this, he takes me to a meeting with him and I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing, And he tells brother, he said, Brother Brandon, that's our accountant. And I was like, I ain't no accountant. But you don't say nothing, you know, you
Yes,
just
sir,
sit
yes,
there,
sir.
you know, with a little stoic face, because you're FOI, you tough, you know.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
And basically he was like, brother, keep the books, man.
Mm.
Keep the books. We're not putting no money in your hand, but keep the books right. I did. Do the faxes, write down the information, type it up, give it to the brothers. The information was there. Everybody got paid. You know, some people wanted to get paid more, you know. And another thing I learned, you know, from him, even in that, brother, in business dealings was whatever you promise the brothers you're going to pay them that. If they say that's not enough, they want to negotiate and talk about it. It's up to you if you want to negotiate with it. If that's what it's paying, that's what it's paying. And so there were brothers who found out, well, why he getting this much and that. So I looked, he said, hey, partner. He said, I've been doing this 30 years. I don't have to go through you. But that ain't fair. You ain't giving us our lion's share. Brother, you was sleeping on your mother's couch when you came here. Now you driving a brand new Mustang? And you telling me I did you wrong? You got your own place now? You 30-some years old sleeping on your mama's couch? You couldn't get a job for what they was paying you? You had to sleep on your mama's couch? You come here, you done been out of the country? Took him out the country, brother, to work. Brother had never knew even what it took to get a passport.
Yes,
You
sir.
learn gratitude. You know, you learn to give the brothers what you say you're gonna give. And if they come back later, oh, brother, you making this much and that. Brother, you didn't ask for more. You never said that wasn't gonna do it for you. But it did do it for you because you do it much better.
Praise be to Allah. And thank you, Brother Brandon. Some people who are watching, thank you all for your love. Some people say they love to hear you tell stories. Praise be to Allah. What is your favorite interaction with the Most Honorable Minister Farrakhan?
Oh, man. I don't know if I have a favorite, brother. And I say that because hell, every time, man, you want to, you know, you walk away with something. I'll tell you some lessons, brother. Well, on a happier note, let me tell you that. I'll tell you about time you jammed me up, but on a happier note, we were in the palace in Chicago, preparing food, we're prepping for a dinner service that the minister's hosting. And it's actually the next day. We're there the day before prepping, all myself, Sister Mary Alice is there in the kitchen, Sister Amy. I love them, brother. I love them sisters so much. They have never been anything less than my big sisters, brother. They just really looked out and showed their little brother love. And so we're in there cooking. And I had this knife in my hand because I'm cutting some squash up for tomorrow. And the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan walks into the kitchen and he greets everyone and, you know, greeting, Alaikum Minister, you know, he smiled, man, that beautiful smile, Alaikum Salam. Each individual believer he looks at, makes eye contact with, greet. I mean, every single one of us in there, brother. Nobody was more important than the other person when he came in that door. And he made us all feel that way. And then he says, oh, he said, don't let me stop you. He said, get back to work. You know, it's like, oh, yes, sir. You know, so I go back to chopping my squash. But he's talking to us, so you want to listen, you don't want to cut your finger off, but you want to hear what he's saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he says, he stopped and he looked at me. He said, Brother Brandon, who let you in my father's home to cook for me and my family? And the look on his face, brother, I was so scared because I was like, I'm looking, Sister Mary standing there, she ain't saying nothing. I'm like, man, you the one called me. I ain't say nothing, but you know, you go back to your hood trainer like, man, don't snitch, don't snitch.
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
And he just bust out and started laughing, brother. And I was like, oh my God. Brother, I was so scared and shaking, and he could see it, and he laughed. He said, brother, we so happy to have you here. He said, thank you for coming. How's your family, brother? I said, they doing fine. Now, mind you, he's standing in the doorway, brother. Brother Aaron is over here to my left. Brother Joshua and Brother Rashad are standing there behind me. If I tried to run, it wasn't no way out. I was like, man, this ain't gonna be good. Knife in my hand and all, brother. It's like this is not gonna be good. And he pranked me like that twice, before. But he was just, just so loving, brother. And then another time he came in and we were looking out the kitchen window at the home next door, which was the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as well. And Sister Amy said to him, she said, Brother Minister, there's a whole family of squirrels. They go up in the attic, we watch them. She said, the whole family, they go in there all the time. And he walked over to the window and he looked out the window, and I'm to his right and he's looking out of the window and he looks, he says, tear it up, squirrels. He said, go ahead, tear it up. He said, tear that house up. And he looked over at me and he said, brother, we're going to get all of my father's property back. I said, yes, sir. He said, do you hear me? I said, yes, sir. He said, all of it. And right now, today, our sister Sajda Muhammad is the owner of that home and is turning it into a museum to show honor and respect to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam right now, today. Where we can all bear witness, brother, to that. She didn't know that, brother, until after she had purchased it. And I told her that story in Houston when I first met her, that he said that. And it was just a bearing of witness, again, to him and his teacher and his teacher.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And some people are showing you love in the comments. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. My sister Naima says the greetings, and Sister Khadija Kareem said, Mary called you and you were silent. She was making a joke. LOL. Boom, boom. Okay, we have a quick 60-second commercial break, Brother Brandon, for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. And I want to thank everyone who continues to like, share, subscribe to the People's Podcast. Each comment, each like, every view that we get on YouTube, every view that we get on Facebook, it means so much to us. We are grateful for all of you. All of you like to be a sponsor or anonymous donors, please cash out the People's Podcast. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera, a drone. He does television and film editing. Thank you very much. Reach out to him if you need anything. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, both of which are available on Amazon. Please go and get those. My sister Naima, Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. And right here in the studio in Atlanta, Georgia, we love our tiny dancers. Sister Rashida Rafat, Rod Communications. If you're working on the book, she does content development, media relations, anything, just concepts. If you're working on the book and you need somebody to put it together, reach out to Sister Rashida Rafat, Rod Communications. Our student minister out of Austin, Texas, Brother Robert L. Muhammad, conflict mediation and squashing the beef. He does a great job in the community. Thank you, Sister Lovett. Thank everyone who's watching. Sister Fudia Muhammad, Children of the Most High, Giving Birth to a God, The Science of Child Rearing, Fudia Muhammad, Sister Fudia Muhammad. That is an amazing book. Please go out and get that. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the country. We're coming right back to our brother Brandon. Sister Sherry Muhammad, Asiatic Minds online, asiaticminds.com. Please, if you want to send your children virtually to elementary, junior high, they do a great job of making king, queens, and young gods. Thank you very much. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Also, Brother Rashad Muhammad of Chicago, COVID-19 Disinfecting Cleaning Services. Please reach out to him. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. Also, Down is Not Out, his new book, all available on abdulsharif.com. Thank you very much. My two books, Cleopatra, children's book, and No Father, No Excuse. Thank you very much for all of your support. Right back to Brother Chef Brandon Muhammad. And thank you again, Sister Lovett, for always showing love in the comments. Boom. Okay. The Rodney King situation? What was that like being in Compton, and how did that affect you?
Um, Rather, that was, I think it affected really all Black people all across the world. It was the first time, we felt a sigh of relief that finally somebody got this on tape, like, man. And it was what we thought was going to be the vindication of, for us against police brutality. And having already been through that in the mosque with our brother Oliver X. Beasley, may Allah be pleased with him, the Los Angeles Police Department, having the history of the Los Angeles Police Department in 1962 rushing the mosque and killing the brother secretary, brother Ronald T. It was, and we all having our own little run-ins with law enforcement. I mean, when you 14 years old, brother, you get hit with a billy club, uh, you know, in the side, man. And it's like, first of all, I'm somewhere I ain't supposed to be. So then I get hit, and it's like, do I go home and tell my mom and dad? Because I wasn't even supposed to be there. And, your friends are like, man, that to them, they just kind of shrugging it off like, yeah, well, well, it was you this time. But that never settled with me. Like, why did it have to be any of us? That was always my thing. I didn't want it to be me this time.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
next time, why the hell did it have to be any of us? So when that happened, of course, we all expecting, yeah, man, it's going down. They going to jail this time. And when we heard those verdicts, brother, I was at school. And probably about 90% of the school population left, brother. We just, it was like, hey, this is a problem. And remember riding around and a friend of mine, Gerald, man, Gerald had this van. It had 2 seats in it, the drivers and the passenger, wasn't nothing in the back, and we would all pile up in the back, sit on that floor. But this particular day, we're riding around and we don't know what we're going to do. We just feel like we're supposed to do something. We don't even know what we're going to do. But once, and at this time, we had pagers. And if you was in high school with a pager, you was like, you was balling, you was somebody, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so we riding around, you get a page, you got to jump out at a payphone and make the call and find out what the person wants that's paging you, And he got a page. Somebody said, well, they coming your way. Man, they headed to y'all. Really? Where? And so we riding all around the city. And rather to see what we saw, it looked like it was straight out of a movie, man. We couldn't understand why the businesses were being destroyed, why they were being firebombed, why they were being looted. We didn't understand that because we were looking at it from the aspect of all that make you look good, but we had enough sense then to know that if you really want to do something, go to the damn police department. If you really want to make some noise.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But y'all scared to go to the police department. And of course, all the believers got instructions. At that time, now you stand down, get off the street, get in the house. You ain't supposed to be out. There was a curfew that hit the city. I remember my mother and I were riding in her car and we had to go across town. There was something she had to do. And so I said, Mom, I'm going with you. I'm not going to let you go by yourself. And we get off the freeway and normally you see, Mexican brothers there with the oranges because we used to like to buy them from them. And they weren't there this time. It was a National Guard with rifles, and I remember my mother saying, don't look at him, don't look at him. And he's right outside. And, that was like telling me stare him down, so I lean forward and I look at him through the windshield, and he looked at me and he smiled and nodded his head. That threw me off because I couldn't understand what you trying to be friendly to me for, I didn't understand this. And later on, we got the understanding that not only were we tired of the police brutality, but they were being used as pawns. They didn't sign up for this. They signed up to, defend the country, not to kill no Black folks. But at the same time, the Korean business owners, brother, were hiring, outsourcing jobs to those who were licensed to carry firearms to come work for them to protect their businesses. The Sloss and Swap meet, they were on the rooftops with rifles. And if you came to that Sloss and Swap meet, brother, they were sniping brothers and sisters from the rooftop. And nobody was being arrested. Nobody was being questioned. The police did not show up to that. But you getting shot at, and they shooting bullets. They ain't shooting no damn bean bags. They shooting bullets, brother. Some people got killed. And so now there's this animosity even growing now between the Korean community and the Black community. So the whole Latasha Harlins thing now is kicking back up, and now it's Rodney King, and and it's like, hey, man, we can turn this out here if that's what this is going to be. But all praise is due to Allah for the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I don't know what he saw. I don't know how it came to him. The very simple instruction: stay in your home. Go out if you need to. If you don't, stay in your home. You're supposed to have food stored up anyway. It was like, hey, we stayed out of harm's way. And, of course, we had friends and family, they were robbing and looting people. And that came to a head to where neighbors, people, they started, hey, if you know anybody that looted, there's a reward. So the snitching was at an all-time high. Doors getting kicked in left and right because your neighbors are telling on you because you can't hold your water because he's like, man, I got these whole box of pagers, man. I got this whole box of this. I got this. You want to buy some? And man, people got arrested like that, which intensified the dissatisfaction with the Los Angeles Police Department because they're saying, damn, you coming to arrest us for that? We got people at the morgue, people in the hospital that these Korean business owners were shooting. You wouldn't come help them. Your people beating us up. You won't come help us. We act a fool. You let us act a fool, then punish us later. It was like there was a whole bunch of emotion behind it. But once the FOI showed up to different rallies, different events, is what the people were waiting for. And they always waited to see what the Muslims were going to do. They always waited. What are the Muslims going to do? Every politician wanted to know, from Minister Harvey, and what are you going to do? What are you guys going to do? And everybody knew we hearing and obeying from our leader. We're not following your instructions. We're following his. And turned out later that, one of our brothers, Brother Damien, had been caught on tape attacking the 18-wheeler driver, Reginald Denny. He was driving through the intersection, yelling out racial slurs. And, it's one thing to already be upset. And then you look up and you see this Caucasian hanging out this truck, calling you niggas and, all these names and get out the way. And, And by this time it just became I mean, it was a dumb move, brother, for that man to do that.
Mm.
And put his own life in danger like that. But as a result, some of the brothers and sisters, who were involved, Brother Damien did get arrested and, had to fight that case, man. And then it hit really, really big, when it started coming out. When the study got 18 hit, a lot of things cleared up for us. Rising above emotion into the thinking of God. And studying it allowed us to backpedal in our lives and look at ourselves to see where we went wrong in everything. And it just, again, it just promoted in our minds the divinity of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Like, this man gave us the answers already. Respect for authority. Well, the LAPD, they got authority. When we got instructions, you don't disobey the authority unless it conflicts with your religion, which is Islam. Go in the house, be quiet. That's not a conflict of our religion. That was the same instruction we got.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But it totally changed the spirit of the city. And I think now, with this generation, brother, if it ever happened again, I would not want to be in the state of California. I would not want to be in the state of California. And I think up in Oakland, when our brother Toure got killed, and nearly every FOI from the Western region ended up in Oakland, brother, to find his killer. That probably put more fear in police departments in the state of California to see this man, then Minister Tony Muhammad, now our brother Minister Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, to see all of these Black men respond to his voice. And he was just passing on instructions from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It would have ignited the whole state of California had we been allowed to be emotional. It would have. But praise be to Allah, even that killer, brother, the way your father put it did, he said, the brother was a hustler. And he said, you know how it is when you hustle on the street. He said, brother had to come up for air. He had been high, he had to come up for air, got out there trying to make some money, and somebody told on him. They recognized that that's the one that killed that Muslim brother. And all praise is due to Allah, brother, that the Oakland Police Department got to him first. Wow. All praise is due to Allah. Nearly every brother who was present, registered, not registered, just supporting, had vowed that we want to be the one to get to him first. And we meant it, brother. We meant it wholeheartedly.
Excellent, sir. And thank you for that. And thank you for this amazing history. Also, people, please go back to verify, verify this from another viewpoint. Was the captain of Oakland at the time, who I interviewed, this had to be like 2 years ago now, Captain Chris.
Yes, sir.
He told the story. So now you're the second person to bring the story up. So I never knew about it until then. It's like, man, this is some amazing history. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Okay, well, where did you get the name? When did you go into cooking to have a love for chef? Being a chef, like, how did that come about?
Well, both of my mother's parents were both chefs. Okay. And because they lived with us, men cooking in our family was just a part of our family structure. It was nothing new. My grandfather was also a professional barber. And Sundays and Tuesdays were his off days. And Tuesday was the day he cooked for the whole family. And so, right now, if any of my cousins, if they're listening or watching, man, they can all bear me witness. Like Tuesday night, we going to Pop-Offs, man. That was the thing. But the love, for cooking came from watching all of the cooking going on in our home. Uh, Fast food wasn't, that was so far and few in between, and it was kind of like that's a dangerous thing. Our idea of fast food was going to the fish market, get some fried fish and some French fries. That was fast food, and a couple chicken spots, around there because we weren't allowed to eat in a lot of places because we didn't know what they were cooking, and was mostly our concern for pork contaminating the food. Um, but watching them, my grandmother, all praises due to Allah, she got her kitchen training from her mother, but it was intensified when she became an MGT. And my mother would tell me stories about, she remembered how the sisters would all come over to the house and they would all be there cooking. And, she said she remembered watching my grandmother learn how to cook the food that we eat in the Nation of Islam. And eventually she went on to culinary school to get her degree and at Los Angeles Trade Tech in Los Angeles to become a registered chef. And she began catering and cook. I mean, her cakes. I wish I still had some of the photographs of the things that she did. She was a seamstress. When my eldest sister got married, my grandmother made every single bridesmaid dress herself, made the cake, and cooked all the food. And this went on for, like a couple months. She was sewing them dresses. And it was always this thing that, you want to eat, you go in there and cook. Well, you get left at home, brother. You don't have no money. You little. You by yourself. You want to eat, so you go in the refrigerator, and it's like, well, I saw them. I saw what they did with that steak. I'm getting ready to do that. I'm throwing steaks in the broiler at home. My sister come in. You made that? Yeah. Ooh, I want one. Okay, I go grab another steak. I don't know. My mother got that planned. That's a meal. That's dinner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm cooking up the food. And by the time I got 13, when I was 13, I started cooking dinner for the family. Both of my parents were working. My mother would call you when you get home. That chicken is in the sink. I need you to season that up. I need you to do this. Put some right. All of my instructions came over the phone. And it would either be myself or one of my sisters. And, we get in there and cook. And by the time I got in college, that was my hustle. I was in my college dorm room cooking and selling food in a toaster oven. And that was my money then, as a freshman. We weren't supposed to be cooking in there, but one roommate had a toaster oven, the other one had a microwave, and I had the skill set and the things that we would come up with in there. And eventually I got to the point to where I started baking bean pies and started selling fish sandwiches. And right now to this day, whenever we have homecoming again, it's guaranteed somebody at Grambling State's campus is going to see me and call me Fishman, because I became known as Fishman, because I would go through the dormitories late at night, 10 o'clock at night, 10:30, and I would walk the hallways because I want to smell who's smoking weed. And because one thing I know is that he gonna be hungry later. And so I knock on his door. Who is it? Fishman. I'm good. No, you're not good, brother. You're gonna be hungry in just a minute. Go on, open the door. Come on and get your fish sandwich. And they would have to open the door like, who is this that know I'm smoking? And when they would see me, they say, what you have? And I had an igloo ice chest where I made our fish sandwiches, and I would open it up. I had a spill that I continued. The consistency that's when I learned consistency in food. And I tell them, they say, what is that? I say, man, it's a white fish sandwich. What? Man, it's a white fish sandwich. You know what white fish is? No, it's one of the cleanest fish in the world, man. Very picky eater. Well, what else is on it? Lettuce, tomatoes, onions, pickles, bell pepper, cheese, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, and hot sauce. All on the whole wheat sell. 1 for $3, 2 for $5. I know you only got $2, man. Your man needs some help, man. Y'all split it. You're Black Unity, brother. Come on, man. Help your man out. Give him 50 cents, man. Y'all get these sandwiches, brother. And I would start selling them at their door. And this became an everyday thing.
Okay.
It was every day. And eventually I started making my money selling final calls, fish sandwiches, and bean pies. The time it was my first marriage, we had our eldest daughter. She was a baby. Everybody was happy. It was like, man, as long as he cooking and selling the food, we got something to eat at the house. You know, everything was fine. And it became, the love was so great because my mother had put the love for how to eat to live in me as a little boy. You can't eat this, you can't eat that, but you can eat this. I was in high school when I found out we weren't actually eating cornbread. It was like, no, that's cream of wheat. It's like, well, I saw him put that in there, but you know, hey, that's not cornbread. And later on is what I dubbed transitional foods for the believers, were the farina bread, you know, the candy carrots, the things that we were eating to replace candy yams, cornbread, you know, sweet potato pie, and all of these things that I just call them the transitional foods.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
that you got to keep the taste in their mouth because that's what we grew up eating. We love it, but you give them a different product. And I started seeing that I had to introduce people to how to eat to live by just letting them taste it. Because you talk to them about it, it don't mean nothing. You know, you tell them about it, they say, that don't sound good. A bean pie, you know, all of these things. And I realized that once I put it in front of their face, once they smelled it, once they saw it, they were going to try it. And we knew it was good already. We knew it was good, you know.
Sir.
And that's all it took for them. And so I began working in a restaurant while I was in college. And, you know, I didn't want to cook pork. So I said, I'll just bust the tables. But during my lunch break, they would let me make my own food. And eventually, the general manager started looking at what I was fixing myself. And he started questioning me. Well, I didn't know at the time that he was reporting that into the headquarters so they could revamp their menu. And I'm not going to even give them as much as a shout out and tell them who was cooking my food, you know, the menu and recipe development that I was just cooking for myself ended up on this restaurant, and it's a chain restaurant, ended up on their menu. And I began to see how valuable how to eat to live is. Just back to back to back. And our people, I mean, they love it. And how can you not? It's good, you know, it's healthy, and it does exactly what he said it will do for us.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Thank you again, Brother Brandon. Thank everyone who continues to watch, like, share, subscribe to the People's Podcast. Okay, Brother Brandon, if you could choose your favorite album of all time, what album would you choose?
Ooh-wee. There's some who are going to be watching this. They already know what I'm not going to say because it's a debate. Wow. Brother Joshua, that's a tough one, brother, you know, because I love music as a fan, but also as a musician. I love music. I'll say, brother, one album that I probably will never ever get tired of listening to. I just can't see myself ever get tired of listening to it. Is "Raising Hell" by Run DMC.
Okay.
I mean the production on it. I was listening to Peter Piper today in my as I was driving. It just because what they were doing was so pivotal for Black youth and rap music at that time. It was the music didn't come with no instructions. You know, it didn't come with you should be doing this because I'm doing it. It was like they were really skilled, and you know, there was true talent in what they were doing. And right now in 2021, I would go as far as to put Rev Run himself up against some artists today, right now, if they had to battle. And not on who's the hottest, who's gonna sell the most, or who sounds the best, but on content. Because he's even elevated. And just some of the things he was saying back then, man, it was just phenomenal. And the closest second runner up, and sometimes, some days it's gonna be first, I'll be real. And that's Ice Cube's Death Certificate.
What's on the wall now? What's on the wall over
I
there?
see it.
Sure,
Death certificate, brother. You know, and we were fans too, you know, because it was coming out of Compton. It was the West Coast, and he had been coming to the mosque meetings. You know, he had been getting taught. You know, and when we heard it in America's Most Wanted, it was like, okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. But when he came out with Death Certificate and he had Khaled on there, and you know, and it was like, you know, give me this black goddess sister. I can't resist her. No stringy hair, blonde hair, blue. You know, I mean, he went in on the teachings, and it just connected with my spirit. Same spirit I got today, so well. You know, so well. Those two, any time of the day, brother.
Yeah,
For me.
Well, those are two great choices. That's the first time somebody ever said Run DMC. So shout out to Run DMC for sure. Because I think people leave them out of history when it comes to the rap groups and to, you know.
Oh, brother, they were selling out crowds back then that people can't sell out today. And you know, they go back and do the research on, brother, they were drawing crowds, man. You know, these brothers were phenomenal. I mean, LL Cool J, all of those that came out of that era, you know, that toured with them, and this was like 18 years old, man, selling out stadiums, you know, and it was just like, whoa, nobody was doing that. But if I go back and I listen to them today, I can understand some of why. You know, the things that they were talking about that was prevalent during that time, it was current. It was current. It was current. What I love about Run DMC and Ice Cube, that specifically the Death Certificate album, they're timeless. Doesn't matter when you play those, you can find a current event that makes sense to that music right now today.
Facts. Praise be to Allah. Okay, great. Thank everyone who continues to watch. All right, my next question for you, Brother Brandon, is if you can meet God face to face and you could ask him one question, what would you ask him?
Ooh. Well, I'm gonna say this. I met the Son of God, the album minister Min Farrakhan, face to face. And wholeheartedly, anything I ask him, nobody can make me believe that his response is not from God. I wanted to ask him in one of the meetings, there was something I wanted to ask him was, what should I be doing? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I didn't ask it in that meeting, but before I left out of the meeting, I was going out of the door. Our Supreme Captain, Brother Mustafa, was at the door, walking me out, you know, shook my hand, man, whispered some kind words to me from the meeting that had taken place. And I hear Brother Brandon, and I turn around to answer the minister. I said, yes, sir. He said, brother, you're not finished helping us. I said, yes, sir. I was so relieved that for me, that was, you have an assignment. You have an assignment. Because that was my question. What am I supposed to be doing? Like, you got these ministers, you got these captains, you got the staff, they doing this, you know, brothers on the team, they doing it. What am I supposed to be doing? man, I love cooking. I love this teaching. I love my people. You know, I was the MUI director in Los Angeles
Mm,
for 3 years. We had the school in Compton, Long Beach, and Los Angeles. And we, so it's like I'm into the education, and what am I supposed to be doing? And he said, "You're not finished helping us." And from that point on, um, it didn't take me long to begin what what I eventually called our Cook to Live classes. And what I wanted to do was take everything that man said in these two books, book one and book two, everything that he says that we can eat, that we should eat. I wanted to teach people how to cook it, how to prepare, so
mm,
you can have what he said you should have.
mm,
Because I
mm,
begin to realize that many of us won't do it because we don't know how. Some of us don't know how simple it is. Some of us don't know something as simple as having a crock pot in your house, man, will answer so many of your cooking woes for you. Uh, some of us who think we don't have the time or the skill set. And I began to take what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has given us. And I later realized that after he said, "You're not finished helping us," I got the answer. And the answer is take everything in these books, in every lecture that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us, and prove him 100% correct. Prove him correct. Not leave it up for debate, not you know uh give him credit this time. No, we're going to prove it 100%. And so I began with students, and I didn't know that this was something that I was going to use later on, but I had the students at the MUI go through book one of How to Eat to Live, and we all wrote down every food that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad named by name. So when he said navy bean or cabbage or onion, we wrote it down, every food. And we could narrow it down after we counted, but it was between 143 and 146 foods he named by name
mm,
in
mm,
that food. Then we charted those foods
mm,
of what he said is good for us to eat, bad for us to eat, and okay for us to eat. Then we went and did the research to find out, well, what is this food very high in? What is this food very low in? What effect does it have on the human body? And this became an assignment. It was the end of the year assignment for the students at the MUI in Los Angeles. And they had to do a presentation to all of those who attended the graduation.
mm, mm,
And the things that we got out of that study, I later used in the Cook to Live Posse Education classes. And so now we have the Cook to Live Posse Education, our nonprofit, um, which is established specifically for that purpose, is to prove the Honorable Elijah Muhammad 100% correct in how to eat to live on every level. The
mm, mm,
physical food, the spiritual food, the mental food. And so in December of 2008, uh, for the second time, I decided that I was going to go back to eating every other day.
mm,
And I never looked back. December 2008, I said, I'll never eat 2 days in a row again. And then it was August of 2014 that I said, you know what, I'm going to do every 3 days.
mm,
I have not looked back since because he said to do it. He said, you're going to get these benefits. These are the things. So when a lot of people say, man, you look so young, you look so young. I don't look young. I'm just bearing witness.
mm,
I'm
mm,
only bearing witness to him because he said that if you do what Allah, who came in a person, the Master Prophet Muhammad, taught me to do, you'll begin to reverse the aging process. So my oldest child is 27, youngest is 16. When I'm with my children and we're all together, people think we're siblings.
Mm.
you know, and my children, people say, well, did you make them eat like that? No, I didn't make them eat like that. We didn't eat meat in our home. They raised vegetarian, but I didn't make them eat that way. Well, it's three of them now. They do it on their own.
Mm.
I don't have to say nothing to them. They do it on their own. And if they feel like, you know what, I'm a little sluggish, I need to add an extra day, they do it. That's what we're supposed to be doing to help the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Be witness bearers. Show it, prove it that this can be done. So yes, you can be a chef in the culinary industry. You can cook for people every single day and never eat the food. Yeah, we do it during Ramadan. Why I can't do it any other time?
Mm.
Why do I have to take the food that you're giving me, and why do I have to eat that the way that you said it? Because it conflicts with what he says. And so we began developing recipes into different things that we could eat. And gosh, this was probably 2007. About 2007 was the first time I began making smoothies with navy beans.
Mm.
Gave it to our children. That became dessert, to the point to where, how it is as a child, you run in the room, Mama, can I have this? Can I have that? But they started running in, can we make smoothies?
Mm.
Go
Mm.
ahead. You know,
Mm.
Not,
Mm.
yes, you can.
Mm.
Yeah, you're not asking me for candy. You didn't ask me, can we make nachos? Can we do, can we do this? You absolutely can. And we began writing our books uh, on recipe books, and it became a mission that this is something you share with people so that they can get the results that he said they're going to get. We're just trying to make other bearers of witness to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, thank Allah, uh, while I was in Chicago working at the Salam restaurant, Allah blessed me to be able to be a part of the recipe development. So we had some things that were there that came straight out of my house, foods we were eating. I said, no, this is good. This is what we can do. We did our veggie burger that meat eaters would come in and order. It wasn't a Beyond Meat, but we had a veggie burger and we had navy beans. The 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 cooking classes skyrocketed to where I got a call from brother Enoch of Hip Hop Detox. All praise to due to Allah, him and his beautiful wife, Sister Keisha. I love y'all. Thank you, brother. That brother's, he's a brother. And they said, listen, chef, we have somebody that needs the cooking classes, brother. Said, you the first person we thought about.
Praise be to Allah.
And I called and I didn't know, but it was Saint Sabina. Father Flaker was looking for a cooking instructor for some culinary classes at the church. And all praises due to Allah. I was blessed for 3 years to teach the Cook to Live culinary classes over at Saint Sabina to our brothers and sisters who are not Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, those who are not in the mosque. Many of them were high school students. And some of them, part of it was you have to go start a business. So there's some now in Chicago. One of my students, she went to culinary school. She's a caterer now. She works for herself. And everything that they got in that class was what we eat, what we're taught, how to prepare, how to store it, So they got canning in there. They got, we were making dressing out of farina bread. They're getting everything that we do. And one of the students, I remember her grandmother coming to the graduation and she said, she cooked Thanksgiving dinner for us. I said, yeah, she did. She told me that. She said, now what is this dressing? What is this? What, and her grandmother wanted to know what was it that I taught her granddaughter how to cook because she really enjoyed it.
Mm.
And the sister went she didn't give them yams. She did candied butternut squash for them. I mean, she gave them a meal that they could have come to the Salam restaurant and eat, that they could have come to any Muslim home and have eaten, and they enjoyed. And eventually, of course, some of them became my first time guests. You know, hey, y'all get extra points. You meet me on Sunday, 7351 South Stony Island. And they did, you know, and that helped me to understand. I got my answer, you know, that you use the bait and the rod that I've given you to go fish them in. And that's what it's always been, brother. It's always been food for me.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Well, thank you very much, Brother Brandon. Sister Minister Aisha, who's from Los Angeles, but now is in Phoenix, says, great interview. These teachers are right and exact. And of course, the minister can tune in on you when you were talking about him giving you, confirming what you were thinking about. Praise be to Allah with your mission. Well, I want to thank you, Brother Brandon, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast for your sacrifice, the sacrifice of your family, and this amazing history. You definitely gave us some history today that I didn't know. I'm sure a lot of people who didn't know. Can't wait to put this on YouTube, sir. And thank you all again.
Brother, thank you, your family, you know, and like I said to you the other day, brother, the love that so many of us, you know, who, and you know, the term I dubbed prior to 95, man, those of us who were around, the great deep love we have for the training that came from the leadership of the Supreme Captain's office when your father was serving in the post. Brother, so many of us carry that right now to this day. And I can talk to the brothers from all over the country. And, you know, we're not used to bees because we are still working. You know, we still making honey.
Yes, I do.
But part of the reason we still making honey, brother, is because of the training. And so, you know, I have to thank Allah for him. Some of the examples, brother, I worked for NOI Security in Compton. I mean, this was like, brother, we really have to give credit to where credit is due. And pardon me. All praise belongs to Allah.
Yes, sir.
And all of those who are serving in posts, no matter where we're at, whether it's national, regional, or local, is by Allah's permission.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I thank Allah for him, brother. I thank Allah for the training that my first wife and my current wife received under your mother's tutelage, brother, because, you know, back then, the Vanguard was a big thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, the sisters, they felt some kind of way if they felt they was too old or aged out of Vanguard. You know, but brother, I thank Allah and for your family, brother. And when I look at you all, there is no way in the world that you can't tell me, and nobody can tell me, that your parents did not raise you all. All of you own businesses? I know where you got that from. But it's so beautiful because it's not a talk, it's a work. And that's what I love about it, brother. You know, and like I said to you, when I watch you do these interviews, you know, my wife and I were talking the other day, and we're like, man, that's not the Atlanta DI doing them interviews. Like, that's not him. Like, man, this brother right here, it's like, man, as the DI, you be making other cities mad. But when you do this, everybody embraces you, you know, and it's just, brother, it's such a beautiful work, man. I'm telling you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I pray Allah blesses you, your family, your future family, you know, beyond your own imagination, brother,
Praise be
that
to
he answers every bit of the righteousness and prayers that you all ask him for, because you are working for it. And thank you for your sacrifice, brother. My children had their father at home when y'all did.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Yes, sir.
my children, the most they got out of me is not seeing me Monday night, because we had to send paper money off. You know, that was about it. Because the account execs, when they start calling, Brother Sultan and Brother Wali, you know, when they get on their phone, there's no arguing, you know, and you got to get that money in. But our families got to see us, brother, because you all gave us your father. Your mother gave us her husband. We owe you all, brother. Believe me when I tell you, we owe you. We owe the Farrakhan family. We owe the Muhammad family, because you all sacrificed and gave us the head of your home to help us be heads of our home. And the only thing we can do to pay you back is to pray the absolute best for you and support you the best we can in everything you do. So the Cook to Live posse and Chef Brandon's buttermilk, bean pie, and all that, brother, we will be taking ads out with you.
Praise be to Allah. And
I
I was going to ask you about that, bro, Brandon. Where can people do the courses? Like, how do people sign up?
Right now, we're not doing them now. We're going into a new season. But we will be coming up on, they will be available virtually. And so that's something we're really excited about, because we can reach so many more people and get it done. But the classes will be available. You'll be able to get it on the website, 1millionpies.com, because that's our goal, 1millionpies.com. We want to raise scholarship money for HBCU students. With Allah's help, we've already developed, established 2 scholarships at Grambling State University. One for a member of the band, which I'm an alumni of, the world famed Tiger Marching Band. Watch out, man. We issuing out as L's, brother. That's it. And we've established the Chef Brandon J. Muhammad Scholarship for the College of Business, of which I was a part of at Grambling State University.
Beautiful.
And we actually want to expand that into all of them, and we're working now to establish officially Muhammad University of Islam as a historically Black college and university. So we're going to prove him 100% correct with Allah's help. And if I don't do it before I take my last breath, I pray Allah, my wife and children do. But, you know, thank you, Sister Aisha. Thank you so much for giving us your husband.
Absolutely.
As he got older and he didn't want to quit when he should have been sitting down, he wouldn't. Thank you. And I gotta admit, for everybody in the nation that's ever had my bean soup and said, "Oh, how good it was," Brother Captain Wali taught me how to make that bean soup. I mean, and it's good, man. It is good. It was consistent and good. So thank you all. I love you, brother. Love your family. Love my children. You all support our brother as well, because I got 2 of them who are in business. And so, you know, we're not going to cheat and shout them out. We're going to pay and shout them out.
Yes, sir. Well, we look forward to that. And
Yes,
thank
sir.
you again. And thank Brother Fred showed you love from Chicago. So many people showing you love. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, brother.
Thank you again, Brandon.